Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, downtown Northport, West Alabama. Welcome in to the Thursday edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central. You guys are watching us on YouTube. You're watching us on Facebook and on Twitter. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Amazon. We really appreciate everybody tuning us in, whether you're watching us or you're listening to us. Welcome in. This is the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, a proud part of the Bama Central Broadcasting Network. And of course, I am Joe Gaither. You can follow me at Joe Gaither6 on all the social media machines: Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, wherever you get your social medias. You can find me at Joe Gaither6. Send me your comments, your questions, your queries, and complaints right there to any of the social media machines that you like. As we get the program rolling today, I want to go ahead and remind you to subscribe to our other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcast. We'll be having our friends All Things Bama with Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon. And we also have our friends Blue Collar Unplugged with Jacob Pickle, Matthew Gibson, and Blake Byler, bringing you everything Alabama basketball related. So make sure that you're subscribing to our other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcast. We're a proud part of Bama Central. We're the Sports Illustrated home for your Alabama Crimson Tide. What are we going to do today? Thanks to everybody for watching us. We are recording this program just a little earlier in the day than we normally do. You're still watching it live at 1 p.m. right there on all our social media machines, and you're looking at it on BamaCentral.com. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We got a huge day today at Bama Central, and we're kicking it off in great style. I'm very excited, very excited to welcome in Alabama head soccer coach Wes Hart. He's going to join me in just a few minutes. He's getting his morning going, starting his day up. He has a huge day, and oh my gosh, I am thrilled and blessed to be a small part of his day, giving us some of his time today. His season, oh boy, Alabama soccer season starts today. I know you watched it on BamaCentral.com last Tuesday. Will Miller and myself were out at the Alabama soccer complex watching Alabama take on Tennessee in an exhibition matchup, and really appreciate everybody having us out there at the Alabama soccer complex last week. We ended up with a 2-2 draw, but today Alabama kicks off official games. We're starting up against DePaul tonight at 7 p.m. at the Alabama soccer complex. I really encourage you all to get out there and join us. Join Bama Central, Will Miller, myself, Coach Wes Hart, and the ladies who have put in a lot of work to get the program to where it is. I want to encourage you guys to join us at 7 o'clock. It'll be free 99. What more can you ask for? Great experience. And I just looked at the weather. It's going to be low 80s. We're going to be rocking and rolling like 83, 84. By the time the sun goes down, it'll be high 70s. It'll be perfect weather to take in the Alabama soccer opener. And so that's going to be the theme of our program today. When Coach Hart jumps in and joins us, putting some dogs away, having some breakfast, and probably watching some extra tape, getting ready for DePaul tonight. We'll bring him in just a few minutes. But what else we have on tap today at 12 o'clock at noon, we're going to be heading over to the Naylor Stone Media Room. Myself, Matthew Gibson, Katie Wyndham, and Will Miller, we're going to be talking to two very important players for Alabama football this year, Mr. James Burnip and Will Reichard. Everybody, thinks about who's going to be the quarterback, and everybody wonders who's going to be on the offensive line. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the offensive line and whether we should be moving J.C. Latham from the right side to the left side. You can watch that program anytime you want right there on all the other platforms we mentioned at the very beginning. The best place really to watch it is at Bama Central on the YouTube channel. You can check out all our episodes. Subscribe to the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We're excited. I'm excited to hear from Will Reichard. It's going to be Will Reichard in his fifth year, and James Burnip in his third year, I believe, right there from Australia. We're going to try to have a little fun with those two guys. We'll ask Will Reichard about his Dr. Scholl's insert. I know it's not Dr. Scholl's. It's a specific Birmingham orthopedic surgeon. We'll ask him about his Birmingham NIL deal. We'll ask James Burnip about his trip to Outback. He tweeted a week ago, that he was visiting Outback for the first time since he's been in America. You guys all know James Burnip, the Australian punter. came to Tuscaloosa, got his career off to a rocky start, but really he's been doing amazing, really, in the last handful of years. So we're excited to talk to Will Reichert and James Burnett today at 12 o'clock over the Naylor Stone Media Room. We'll be doing that at 12, and then really we're heading over to Alabama Soccer Complex about 6 or so to get going for the weather warm-ups. I'll be listening to Hey Coach on the side. Hey Coach debuts tonight on all of the Crimson Tide Sports Networks. Learfield Sports bringing you Hey Coach. Debuts tonight. I imagine our man Chris Stewart, Roger Hoover will be a heavy part of that broadcast. We'll look forward to listening to all the episodes of Hey Coach. If you're going to miss any episode, no problem. You can check out BamaCentral.com. Our live blog will be keeping up with anything notable that any of our coaches have to say. But I'm just excited for the day. It's going to be a great day full of Alabama Crimson Tide sports. I cannot wait to get it going. And once again, we invite you to follow us at BamaCentral.com. My man Chris Walsh owns and runs everything at Bama Central. You can follow him at Writing Walsh on the Twitter machine. Of course, follow us at Joe Gaither 6 at Bama Central. But more importantly, I want you to follow at UA Coach Hart on the Twitter machine and at iHeartBama on the Instagram machine, and follow Alabama Soccer on the Twitter machine to follow all of their great action tonight. If you're going to miss anything from us, if you're not going to be able to make it to the Alabama Soccer Complex, you can follow all the action right there on the social media machines, whether you're looking at BamaCentral.com or Alabama Soccer on the Twitter machines. I really, really cannot wait for the day. I got up early, got my prep done. I got 2 or 3 pages of notes, so we're ready to rock and roll. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome in, man, I am so excited to bring in Coach Wes Hart, entering his 9th year as head coach at the University of Alabama. Coach Hart, thank you so much. You had a huge day today, and I really, really thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. How is your morning going, and are you pumped up for it?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. I appreciate you having me on. Certainly been waiting a long time for this home opener, so we're excited to go. Team looks sharp, and we're ready for our first action tonight.
Absolutely. The ladies will be playing DePaul at 7 o'clock tonight. And please make it out to the Alabama Soccer Complex. It's going to be a great evening. The weather's going to be perfect. And really, these ladies and Coach Hart, y'all deserve the support. Oh, my gosh. People who aren't paying attention, Coach Hart, you led the most successful team on campus last year, obviously stacked up with Alabama football and Alabama basketball and soccer, but making it to the Final Four for the first time in program history. So really, really encourage everybody to get out and support these ladies tonight. As we open up the interview, Coach, obviously I want to talk about the team and I want to talk about your program, but I want to get to know you as well. I just want to do a little peek behind the curtain. I was doing prep and research this morning and last night, and I thought, oh my gosh, this you have an amazing backstory. You have a fascinating backstory. So I'm really looking forward to asking you some of the questions about your career and your life so far. Can I start with maybe growing up in Colorado? And can I start with everybody knows that you were 2-time high school player of the year playing in Colorado, and obviously went on to Wisconsin. But people maybe don't know that you were also a very successful high school wrestler.
And so I used to wrestle. I thought that was a great sport for me. I was the type of player that felt like I needed to get little breaks here and there from soccer. I thought it was healthy for me, and I thought wrestling was a great way to stay in shape, and just kind of the mental toughness that it teaches you, and just the physical physical aspect of the sport. And being in a team sport like soccer is awesome, but I think there's certainly something to be said about individual sports where you don't have anyone else to rely on. It's just you. And that was fun for me as well. So it was a great little break. I never took it as serious as I did soccer. I was not the type of wrestler that was, cutting serious weight to get down a weight class or anything like that. But I certainly did enjoy it. No question about it.
Absolutely. Well, I wrestled a little bit in high school. I didn't have as much success as it seems like you did it online, but I just know the lessons that it teaches you can be carried over throughout other sports and just your career as well. How did wrestling kind of shape your outlook on soccer, affect your ability or affect your mindset to the game of soccer?
Yeah, I don't entirely know. It's hard for me to really point to any one thing, but I think just the overall, just the work ethic. Obviously, Joe, if you said you wrestled as well, I mean, just kind of the work that goes into that, and just the mental toughness, the grind of of, like I said, it's just you and your opponent on the mat, and no one else really can control anything. And so, but for me, like I said, it was just a good sport for me to kind of get a break and a release, a different kind of a release from soccer, and then a great way to stay in shape, great way for balance, strength, and everything like that. So I'm a big believer in multiple sports. I truly believe that those athletes that that pick up, whether it's basketball or wrestling or football or baseball or any type of thing, I think multiple sports help. No question about it.
Absolutely. I love that answer. I love that answer. You left high school and you went to University of Wisconsin for 2 years. What went into your decision to go to Wisconsin as a soccer scholarship? You played very well there for 2 years and really then transferred to Washington. What went into your decision to make it all the way to Wisconsin?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough that I had some great opportunities. My first visit was to Furman, who was kind of an up and coming team. Ended up producing some really good players, and had some really good teams. But Furman was a little bit too small for me. But a really cool school. And then Creighton was another one that I visited, another soccer powerhouse. But it was a little bit again a little bit on the smaller side, and no disrespect to Omaha, Nebraska, but it just felt like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. It was, I happened to go during probably the coldest game of the year, cold, windy playoff game in November, and it probably didn't help. But then University of Wisconsin, my senior year, they ended up winning the national championship, and they gave me a nice scholarship offer, and I just saw a lot of potential. I connected well with the coaches, which, as you know, in recruiting is a big thing, and so had a very good connection with particularly the assistant coach is the one that kind of did most of the recruiting. So just connected well with him, and felt that it was going to be a great fit for me. Loved everything about my first year, the experience there. The school was amazing. The town of Madison is awesome. It's a college town just like Tuscaloosa, and it's a cool place. But after my first year, the coach got fired, and new coach came in for the second year, and we didn't see eye to eye. We kind of butted heads, as did a lot of players on the team, butted heads with him. And so after my sophomore year, there was a mass exodus. I mean, everyone bolted. I think 17 players either graduated or transferred out. And so had some good buddies from club soccer that went to University of Washington. And they were a team that was kind of on the rise, and I thought it was going to be a great opportunity to go there. And it ended up being probably one of the best things I've ever done for my career. Ended up being a 2-time All-American at Washington, and then a first-round draft pick in the MLS. So it ended up working out perfect for me.
You're hitting on all my notes. I love it. I really appreciate it. I love it. Your thoughts. You hit on you operated and utilized the transfer portal way before it became very popular over the last 3 or 4 years. And you just hit on how successful that was. Was it, when you were thinking about, leaving Wisconsin, was Washington the easy choice, the obvious choice? Or were you shopping around? What was the transfer portal experience like for you?
Yeah, there was no portals.
Portal.
Yeah, there was no portals. So it was kind of just word of mouth type of thing.
Sure.
And so,
yeah.
I knew I wanted to leave and find a different situation. The first thing I did was reach out to those schools that I turned down the first time. So, Furman and Creighton particularly were the two schools I reached out to. And I was about this close to going to either one of those. And then, Washington, my best friend from high school was there. And a lot of kids I played kind of regional soccer with, were there. And so I think it was more of the player connection that drew me to Washington, as opposed to, the program or the coaches or anything like that. So, because of kind of my best high school friend, that's why I went to Washington, and it ended up working out great for me.
Coach correct me if I'm wrong, how I pronounce this. Coach Wurzburger?
Yeah, Dean Wurzburger was a coach there, and he did a heck of a job, and he put that program on the map. And then Jamie Clark is the guy that's taken over now. His dad was a legendary coach in the collegiate game, and he's done some great things. He took them to a Final Four 2 years ago.
He's quoted as saying you have an incredible work ethic and ability to change the game. You end up getting drafted, as you said, first round by the Colorado Rapids. The 2000 draft. Put us in that. Okay, you're going to the first round. The MLS is still very, very, it's still like in its fourth, fifth year or so. What's it like for you thinking, oh, I'm going to go play in this kind of infancy league, and oh, I'm a first round draft pick? There's obviously not the. I mean, the internet was around. It was more dial up. It wasn't as prevalent as it is now. What's that draft day experience like for you?
Oh man, you're really trying to age me.
No. I'm fascinated by it.
Oh no, it was cool, man. It was special, and for me, looking back now, there's days that go by that's like, man, I wish I would have tried going overseas and dabbled with that. But at the time, coming out of college, for me, I was thinking, man, how cool would it be to go back and play for my hometown team in a new professional league in the U.S. And we weren't making much money, but we were making as much as any other kid coming out of college. And it's like, man, I can make a decent salary and play professional soccer in my hometown. And I mean, for me, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and certainly don't regret it one bit. And then going in the first round was pretty cool. I had a really good senior year. I was one of the leaders in the nation in assists. Actually, I guess that was my junior year, but senior year I followed that up with another solid year. Was an All-American, and I knew I was going to get drafted, but we actually had a player combine. They invited about the top 20 or 30 or 40 maybe college prospects into this combine, and we played like a little mini tournament. And I happened to have, I played some of my best soccer that weekend, and scored some good goals, and I think my draft stock went up drastically. And I think Colorado wanted me, but I think they were hoping to get me a little bit later on, and I played so well they didn't have a choice but to get me in the first round.
So what does it mean? Most of your early days were as forward and midfielder, and you hit on 15 assists your junior year, led the team, and really one of the leaders in the nation. But then you basically, it seems like I'm reading that you got shifted to defender. What's that transition? Oh, how difficult was that transition to make, or was it pretty easy for you? Well versed in all over the field. Just talk about changing positions once you ranked get into the professional ranks.
Yeah, it was not. I don't know. I mean, clearly, I'd grown up my whole life being an attacking player, and so that was fun for me. Scoring goals, being around the action, was kind of really what I enjoyed doing. But at the time, my thought process was, well, shoot, if it's going to help me get on the field, because what ended up happening is, again, another coaching change happened. I think I had, I played for 3 different coaches in the pros, and every coach sees the game differently and sees players differently. And after my first year, I was hurt much of the year, but once I came in, I scored a couple goals right off the bat, and I kind of ended the season, pretty well. But then the new coach came in, and he brought in a couple good forwards from overseas and in different places, and then he shifted me to I was an outside mid next, and then a holding mid, and then 3 years in the back line. But ultimately, for me at the time, it was how can I survive? How can I stay in the league? Continuing to play, continuing to get on the field, and for me, it was just about, what can I do to help my team, and also to see the field was kind of my thought process.
When you got into the MLS, they had just enacted a rule change on the penalties, and really, as I was going into the research, I was like, "Oh man, he experienced the old style penalties," but no, it was right there on the change. What was your thought process as a player seeing those penalties? For those who don't see it, it was the 35-yard, the 15, 20-yard run up, and then you had the one-on-one. Just like as a player, and then obviously they changed it and scrapped it, went to the kind of the traditional mindset. Just what are your thoughts on those old style penalties?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, to be honest. And I think probably for a variety of reasons, but including, I think, kind of trying to squeeze the game into the 2-hour TV window and stuff. It extended things like that. But I think doesn't hockey do it now? Where don't they do like a little penalty shootout if there's a tie?
Very similar.
I think it's a fun rule. For the soccer purist, it doesn't belong in the game, but I think it's fun, and you'll see, when we do ID camps or when we do, small sided tournaments or something within our team setting, if there's a tie, we'll do that. So I bring that out just because it's a fun way to practice breakaways, because there's a lot of times, you always expect your forward to, it's a 1v1. It's like you're expecting her like she should score, but it's not as easy as it looks, and so that's why we train that from time to time, and it's a fun way to train it. So, there'll be times in practice when there's a tie and we settle it by, giving each team 2 breakaways or something.
That's awesome. Johan Cruyff spoke about it and basically said Europe needs to try it. Obviously, they never really picked it up, but just amazing to see kind of a legend chime in and say, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah, totally. It's fun, right?
So, with all that kind of in mind, and that kind of being our backdrop, what is the core components, or how has that influenced Wes Hart into basically this is my philosophy for soccer, this is my mindset for my Alabama Crimson Tide team? When you're saying, "Oh, you're drawing up everything, you're drawing up your strategy and getting everything rocking and rolling," what are some of the core components of a Wes Hart led team?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate enough to play for a lot of great coaches on a lot of great teams, and a lot of what I do as a coach is things that I stole from coaches that I had growing up and that I liked, as well as things that I didn't like. Now I'm the type of person where it's like, gosh, I didn't like this or this about that coach, and so I need to make sure that I don't pass it along. And it's amazing. I was just having this conversation with someone the other day, about the mindset of sometimes, there's coaches out there that's like, well, gosh, when I was growing up, this is how I was treated as a player. So now as a coach, I'm going to do the same thing. And it's like, no, that cycle needs to get broken, And so, just because, at one point in time, it was the right thing to do was yell and scream and rip people's heads off and make them feel worthless. And it's like, that doesn't mean it was right just because that was done to you. And now that didn't mean you need to pass it on. So, a lot of what I do as a coach, I try to take the good from the coaches that I had, and as well as I try to learn from the bad. And so I think my coaching style is a blend of a lot of different coaches and just influencers in my life.
I love that. You spent about 8 years, is what I'm gathering, at the Colorado Rush after your playing days to get your kind of career, your coaching days started. What's the big challenge that the average person or person who doesn't know anything about soccer? What's the biggest challenge about building and maintaining and sustaining kind of a youth academy, a big style, not school program, but a soccer led entity, soccer led program?
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I jumped into youth coaching right out of, and I actually started youth coaching as I was playing professionally, but I thought that was a great transition for me. I'm glad I didn't just jump right into the collegiate game. I thought I learned and grew a ton as a coach, just from the youth game. I was blessed to be around some tremendous coaches and mentors that helped me. Because just because you played the game doesn't mean you know all the intricacies of coaching and managing people. And I felt I was surrounded by a group of coaches at the Colorado Rush that really helped shape me. I mentioned all the great coaches that I played for, but also the great coaches I coached with at Colorado Rush that have kind of shaped me into the coach I am. So I thought that was tremendous. But the club coaching for me, it was a grind. It was long hours and long weekends. And to be fair, I didn't think it was super conducive to being a father and a good husband. I thought, I was headed out the door as my kids were coming home from school, and I was coming home when they were in bed, and just didn't feel right for me. And so that's kind of why I made the jump and got out of youth coaching and jumped into the college ranks. And again, just like I said, with my college career, playing career, I think I made a incredible decision to leave the club game when I did. And, I was fortunate enough to start right there at Florida State, which is probably the best place you could start, and then kind of parlayed that into a job at Alabama. So everything has worked out perfectly for me.
Two-time ACC champion at Florida State, and then obviously the national championship in 2014. You parlay that, as you just said, into the Alabama opportunity. What's the biggest difference, or when you got to Alabama, okay, you're on the high at a huge program, at a very successful program at Florida State, and then you get the head coaching job at Alabama, who is respectfully not as successful. What was it a culture shock? Was it kind of, oh my gosh, this is way different than Florida State? What was the biggest kind of surprise or thought process coming to Tuscaloosa from Florida State?
Yeah, it was complete culture shock for me. And, I had come from a very, very, very successful youth program, that the Colorado Rush team, teams that I was coaching and directing, had some of the best players in the country. Lindsey Horan was a player that is now one of the best players in the world. And, she was in our club, and, coached a number of other players that have gone on and played in the NWSL and represented the national team. And, so I'm going from that club environment to where I'm coaching players that have aspirations of being pros and being national team players. And then you go right into Florida State, where it's, just cranked up another level, even where it's like, okay, you're coaching players that are already, national team players and, full national team players. And, they all have aspirations of winning national championships. And then I got to Alabama, and it was just, I don't know, it was really hard for me to wrap my head around it. It's like, I got here and awesome kids, very, very nice players. And, but their goals and aspirations were not in line with mine. And so it was really hard for me to kind of grasp it and wrap my head around it. I go back to this story a lot where, our season ended and I wanted to keep training, and the players were wondering why I was trying to punish them. And they called it punishment training. It's like, no, like we're just training. Like, and most players that I used to, coach was like, well, they got excited to train, they wanted to train. It wasn't looked at as like, oh gosh, we have to train. Like our season's over. Why are we still training? So, that was just kind of the mindset of the majority of players at Alabama at the time. Was just like, they didn't have the same goals and aspirations that I did and that I was used to. And so that was, pretty difficult for me to kind of wrap my head around and deal with. But, over the years, I think we've brought in more and more players that their goals and aspirations have aligned with, kind of mine and our coaching staff. And I think that's ultimately what you want. And that's what's going to make a successful team and a successful coach is you need like-minded individuals. You need to be on the same page, pulling for the same things, or it just doesn't work,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of think, and maybe correct me if this is a bad parallel, but when you think about Coach Patrick Murphy basically building this softball program from scratch, playing over in a park to now playing in the largest on-campus stadium, and obviously that's taken 20-something years to build. What's been you're entering year 9, and obviously we're coming off your most successful year, really your most successful 2-year stretch. What's been the biggest challenge taking it from the first year where you mentioned, okay, we're not really aligned philosophically to where you are now? What's been the biggest challenge building your program to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I think probably just the highs and the lows where trying to because throughout the build 2017 we had a solid year where we made the NCAA tournament, and then in 2018 we took a little bit of a dip again because we had lost some really good players from that 2017 team. I think 3 or 4 seniors that were key players on that team graduated. And then 2018, we took a little bit of a dip. And then 2019, we were good again. And then 2020 was the COVID year. So I think just kind of that little roller coaster. And it wasn't until, finally 21 and 22, we put some back-to-back really good years. And hopefully, we're going to ride that momentum in 2023. And so I think just trying to keep that level of consistency. And I think, we've tried very, very hard, and I don't think we've intentionally did it or whatnot, but I think complacency might set in a little bit at times where it's like, maybe after, 2017, it's like, okay, we kind of thought like, all right, we take our foot off the gas a little bit. Or as a players, you kind of let your guard down a little bit. But I think what we've done a good job of these last couple of years is, done a good job of keeping the players hungry for more and not being satisfied with a little bit of success. And you saw that last year, we had a little bit of success and the players fed off of it. And, it was like a drug where they just wanted more and more and more. And, you could see with every win, with every new ranking that came out, with every new, I don't know, with every new win, yeah, it just fed, it was like throwing fuel on a fire where you could just kind of see it growing.
I love that. We made it out to a couple games at the end of the year last year. I did as a fan and just noticed really the last couple games, the atmosphere was very, very strong. What do you do as a coach, or over a 9-year span, how do you sell soccer in the community of Tuscaloosa? You obviously know the football is king, but soccer, football is globally king. How do you sell soccer in West Alabama or in the state of Alabama to really try to attract more fans and get more people into Alabama soccer complex?
Yeah, it's certainly been a challenge. Because everywhere I've been, soccer was kind of the bigger sport. In Colorado, the youth soccer in Colorado is huge. In Seattle, where I went to college, the Pacific Northwest is a hotbed for soccer, and played professionally in San Jose, California. When I went to Florida State, they had already built an incredible program. So they had a big following. And so again, you ask about some of the challenges, when I got to Alabama, that was another challenge for me. It's like, gosh, like people don't even know we have a team. I can't tell you how many people I'd run into, and, I told them I'd coach soccer and they didn't know we had a team, and they didn't know when our season was and stuff like that. So that was certainly a challenge. And, up until, to be honest with you, up until last year, I didn't know the right way. How do you get people into the stands? Do we need to do more community outreach? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? And ultimately what I found out is you need to win. You need to win. And the town of Tuscaloosa, and not just the town of Tuscaloosa, but Alabama fans, they want to support winners. And the more games we won, the more crowd that we drew. And so I believe, I don't know if that's the recipe, but or the the golden ticket, but I believe if you win games at Alabama, people want to be associated with it and they want to come out and support you. So for me, our plan is to keep winning and keep the fans coming out.
I fully support that plan. I think that's the best mindset. Speaking of, tonight we're going to be playing DePaul at 7:00 tonight. For anyone who needs a little extra incentive, the Alabama volleyball girls will be signing autographs right before the game, and we'll have a World of Beer food truck. So come on out to Alabama Soccer Stadium this evening. You're going to see a great product on the field, and it'll be a great atmosphere in the stands as well. Just as we continue on with the program, and I really thank you so much for your time. We're talking to Alabama head soccer coach Wes Hart. A little behind the curtain, a small connection that we have as I was doing my research. 2 weeks ago, you posted happy anniversary to your wife, Jamie, on Instagram. And I'm a sucker for love. So 18 years of marriage. And then so I dig a little bit on Miss Jamie Hart, and I realized, oh my gosh, my ex-wife and I bought our first house from Jamie Hart. I was like, oh, okay, that was the same lady. One, thank you for that. But
Yeah.
two, ask you just to tell the synopsis of how we met, how you met your wife, and just secondly, what's your secret to success for 18 years of marriage?
Oh my goodness, yeah, wow. Where do I begin? I met my wife. She was a collegiate gymnast at University of Denver. So when I got drafted back to the Colorado Rapids, it was my first year in Colorado, and a lot of my buddies were finishing up their college careers playing at University of Denver, and that's where Jamie was. And so I met Jamie through just kind of hanging around University of Denver, and a couple of my friends maybe introduced us together, but that's how I met Jamie.
Awesome.
And then she's got a very interesting background, more interesting than mine, to be honest with you. She was an elite level gymnast where she trained and lived at the Caroli Ranch, and she was basically, I don't know, a couple athletes away from potentially making the 96 game. So that was her goal. She was taken out of high school for 3 years and not even homeschool. She was literally taken out of school for 3 years. And, so she went back to high school and graduated at 20 years old. And she was, yeah, right. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's, kind of unheard of. I don't know that I've ever heard of that before, where it's just like you're taken out of school, you're not even homeschooled, but no, she was a really elite level gymnast. And so I think, I think that's one of the things that we have in common is, both being, serious athletes and competitors. And, sometimes that works for us and sometimes it works against us. Obviously if we're competing, if we're playing a card game or doing something at home, it can get ugly, but for the most part, we're driven, and kind of wired the same way. We both have a competitive streak in us and a work ethic in us that, that our youth, that was kind of embedded us and ingrained in us as kids growing up playing sports.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. I appreciate you letting us in right there. We're talking to head coach Wes Hart, Alabama soccer coach, and I wanted to ask you about Felicia Knox. Felicia Knox spent a little bit of time up at the podium early on Monday. Monday, yes, sir, with you, and she holds the record for assist at Alabama. I want to go back to the very beginning of the conversation with your time at Washington and Wisconsin, and just your time as an attacking player, midfielder. Do you see a little bit of yourself in Felicia Knox and in her your game? If you do you see similar games in your style?
Yeah, a little bit. Felicia kind of benefited, as did I. When you're kind of in charge of taking set pieces, for me, I had a pretty long throw in college that we scored a couple goals off of. I took corner kicks and free kicks. And so, I benefited from that. And if you see Felicia's stats, I don't know the exact breakdown, but she benefited from, Macy Clem scoring a couple headers off of corner kicks, and I believe Riley Mattingly probably a corner kick or two off of Felicia's serves. But so I think in that regards, certainly some similarities. But Felicia, she had a number of assists through the run of play as well, and so I certainly don't want to diminish what she did. I mean, she was phenomenal for us last year, fortunately for her and for us, we had good players getting on the end of her service. It does no good if you've got a good finisher if you don't have the service, or vice versa. If no matter how good of the service you have, if you don't have someone getting on the end of it, it's not gonna help you. And so, no, Felicia's a phenomenal player. When we recruited her out of Kansas City, I think she was kind of a little bit under the radar. She had some other players on her team that were highly touted players. One of them that we'll see against North Carolina this year. But I think she flew under the radar a little bit. And at the time, I was going to those games and she caught my eye. And, I just thought there was a lot there, a lot of kind of, I don't want to say untapped potential, but, you could see that the ceiling was quite high with her, just some of the things she did on the field. If you're watching close enough, you could see that, okay, this girl's got a good mind for the game. And, as she grows, as she matures, like there's something there. And we were blessed to see that and take advantage of it. And the rest is history,
Awesome. Educate the dummy over here when it comes to recruiting. You talk about seeing her at an event. I obviously follow football recruiting and kind of familiar with basketball and even a little about baseball. They recruit them at such an early age in baseball. What is the college soccer? What is your philosophy, or how does the recruiting work for college soccer?
Yeah, it's changed. And to be honest with you, it seems like it's constantly changing. Every year or two, there's a new rule, a new wrinkle that gets thrown into things. But when I first got to Alabama, I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. We were recruiting 8th, 9th graders, and you had to do it because everyone else was doing it. And if you didn't do it, you're kind of left out in the dark. And now you're kind of just waiting. So it's like you had to do it, but you knew that it really wasn't right because people are changing so much. I mean, gosh, you think of the development between 8th grade and 12th grade, or 8th grade and, your freshman or sophomore year in college. I mean, it's massive. And so, what the NCAA did probably right around the time COVID came is you were no longer allowed to talk to athletes until their junior year in high school. So, and so really now, we don't even start looking at a kid till late sophomore year. And then, you start talking to him junior year. And so for me, I think it's an awesome rule. I know some people still kind of complain about it, but for me, I think it's perfect because that's the age in which you really want to be starting to identify that talent. And that's, gives you a lot better indicator of what a player is going to be like. But, you take someone like Felicia. I mean, I think she came to campus her freshman year. So we played Florida State, and it just coincided. We happened to play Florida State the day she came on an unofficial visit, and we beat Florida State at the time, which was, unheard of, for Alabama to beat Florida State. But we happened to, things fell for us right that day, and it must have been fate or destiny because she happened to be there that day, and then we ended up securing her. So, but again, this was a girl that we saw as a freshman, and but we've got plenty of stories that have gone the other way where players we identified as a freshman, and by the time they were seniors, and we were excited about them, they were no longer playing soccer, or so I think the recruiting now, basically, to kind of go back to your original question is, we start recruiting players as juniors in high school. And, we go to a lot of club events. It's not really, high school soccer is really not the best place to go and see players. We'll maybe go check out a high school game just to show a kid some love and attention, but it's not really to get an evaluation.
And so with all that being said, you put a lot of great athletes out into you coached a lot of great athletes, and you hit on that at the very beginning, talking about the Colorado Rush. With you having such a big background in soccer and really playing at all different levels, what does it mean to you, or what are your emotions like when you see some of your players like Riley Tanner representing Panama in the World Cup, seeing some of your players on the biggest stage?
Yeah, that's incredible, and that's one of the reasons that I got into coaching and still coach, is to help players kind of reach their full potential and see what they can do. And so for me to see a player you know get into the pros. Can you hear me still, or did I break up?
Yes, you look great. Yes, no, it's no problem. Yep,
Okay,
it's all good.
perfect. Yeah, so no, as I was saying, for me to see and help a kid, develop, into a pro or into a national team player, or, even beyond that, help them, into the real world or whatever it is. I mean, that's kind of why I coach. And so, but no, it was a proud moment for me to see Riley Tanner in the World Cup. They had a brutal draw, right? I mean, I think they had France, Brazil, and Jamaica was their group. And so, going into it, I think everyone thought they were going to get killed. And to be fair, I thought their results were respectful. And, I thought she contributed to that. So certainly happy to see her. And, now, watching some of the girls that we have playing in the NWSL, we've got 6 players that we've coached over the last 5 or 6 years that are now playing professionally in the NWSL. It's exciting to hop onto Twitter or to throw a game on and see players playing in that. So it's pretty gratifying as a coach when you see some of the players that you've worked with and now succeeding at another level.
Has the soccer program utilized name, image, and likeness in any way over the last since its inception in the last 2 years? And if so, or if not, how can people support your athletes and support your team utilizing NIL?
Yeah, it's still so new to me that I'm really still trying to grasp, and wrap my head around the NLI, the NIL. So. But it's out there. I didn't think, to be honest with you, I didn't think that it would affect, women's college soccer much. I thought it was going to be something that was going to be, strictly, football, basketball, and you see it happening, there, and you hear about it more there. But, we're recruiting now. And because of the year we had, we're in conversations with some high level kids, kids that we've never really kind of, the caliber of kids that we haven't talked to in the past. And, it's a little bit discouraging. You're talking to some of these players and, they're asking or telling me, or their coaches are telling me that, oh, by the way, school X, Y, and Z are offering her $15,000, $20,000 in it. And I'm like, well, it's like, oh my goodness. Like, I don't know how you come up with that money. I don't know if that's just, you don't know how much to believe, and then you don't know where they're coming up with that money, and you don't know if that's sustainable either. Like, okay, is this a one-time thing? Is this something that, Alabama soccer needs to make sure that we're right there amongst the others, or else we're going to fall behind? So it's a little bit interesting, and I guess time will tell how that all goes down. But, what I've kind of done in the recruiting process as I'm talking to these players, $10,000-$15,000 is a lot of money, but at the same time, it's not life-changing money. And so, what I've been careful to preach to these players, as well as my own son, who's a senior in high school, that is kind of going through the recruiting process as well as a soccer player. But, for me, I'm telling these kids, don't make a decision based off of $10,000. At the end of the day, it's not as if these kids are living out of their car and trying to send money back home to their family. If that were the case, fair enough. But, $10,000 for a lot of the kids we're recruiting is not life-changing money. And so, I would advise them, to go with the school and the program that they think is going to be the best fit and where they're going to grow as a player and as a person, and where they're going to get the best education and where they're going to be in the safest environment. And that's what needs to lead it. And they shouldn't chase $10,000. If they're chasing $10 million, fair enough. But I wouldn't chase $10,000.
Coach, I got only a couple more questions, and I really appreciate you giving me some of your time, especially on game day as Alabama's taking on DePaul tonight at 7 o'clock at Alabama Soccer Stadium. Please get out and support the ladies. The first of 3 home games in August, all of them free to attend, and please get out and see them. The weather's going to be great tonight. Barcelona, very famous for its 4-3-3 kind of style. Do you yourself find yourself coaching a similar system, or year to year are you moving and changing, game to game are you moving and changing your own system? What is your philosophy when it comes in terms of tactics?
Yeah, I think I've always been the type of coach that I don't fall in love with a formation per se. We've done a 3-4-3, we've done a 3-5-2. Last year we were predominantly a 4-4-2. This year, tonight, we're going to start in a 4-4-2. So, but for me, it's less about the formation you're playing and more going back to kind of your style and within that, what are your principles? And for us, our principles and our style, we want to be an aggressive team. We want to be on the front foot in terms of, we're not going to be a team that sits back and lets a team come at us, and then we're going to try to break out and counterattack them or something like that. I mean, almost the opposite. It's like we're a team that we want to be, without the ball, we want to kind of, set the tempo and dictate, we want to win the territory battle. We want to press teams higher up the field. When we lose the ball, it is immediately, we call it the hunt, but it's a transitional moment where, we're trying to win balls back as quickly as possibly as we can. And then as soon as we win the ball, we want to go score. It's not about winning the ball and now giving it all the way back to your goalkeeper and starting and trying to build 120 yards. It's like, if we can win the ball 30 yards from our goal, or 30 yards from our opponent's goal, and then go score right away, well, that's what we want to do. And, we led the nation in goals last year. We scored 67 goals. But a lot of it came from just our mentality, our pressing, our hard work, almost kind of like, you look at, Bama basketball as well, right? They've got their blue collar mentality and same with us. We want to be a hardworking, gritty team that's not fun to play against. And, so for me, whether you're playing a 3-5-2, a 3-4-3, a 4-4-2, any of those formations, you can do that in, but it's more about the style. And that's how we're going to be. We're high energy, high octane team that, that's in your face and wants to go score goals.
Well, that is a recipe for success and a recipe for excitement for us as fans and followers. Just a broad question on soccer. What's your thoughts on Leo Messi coming to USA, igniting the MLS?
Yeah, how cool is that? I mean, and there was always, talk about it over the last couple of years. And then, when all of a sudden thought he might come, you just didn't know the impact he was going to have. And, sometimes over the years you've seen, high level players come over and they look at it more like they're kind of coming over here to retire and be on vacation and stuff. But so you didn't know exactly how it was going to work out, but man, he's been fantastic, right? I mean, I think he's scored in every game he's played. I think he has 9 goals in 6 games. And, I don't think they've lost since he's played. And, you look at the excitement, around him and, even, it's fun looking at tweets from other athletes, NBA players, NFL players, talking about Leo Messi and, and so he just brings a different awareness, to the game of soccer. And I think it's great for soccer in America.
Absolutely, it's insane. It's insane. I love it. Are you and the girls? Sunday is the US the World Cup final, England and Spain. But it's at 5 a.m. and you guys have a 6 p.m. game up at UAB. Will y'all get together and watch it that early, or will you leave it up to them, or do something different entirely?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think might be more inclined to do it if Team USA was in it. The fact that it's England and Spain, probably. I'm not going to prohibit or forbid my team from doing anything and waking up and watching it. I think it's awesome if they do, if it shows that they care about soccer. And, but at the same time, I'm not going to encourage it or promote it. To be, selfishly, I'd rather them sleep in and be well rested for our game against UAB. But, But no, World Cup is certainly an awesome event, both on the men's and the women's side. And, I love it when players are into it and watching it. And, I think if Team USA was in it, we'd probably be more inclined to do something.
That's awesome. Well, your season gets started tonight. We're playing DePaul at 7 p.m. The last two questions for me. One, just set up the season for the people who just tuned in at the very last little bit of last year. Oh, we're in the NCAA tournament. Oh, they beat Duke. Oh, they're ranked. Oh, we're in the Final Four. How do we capture the momentum from last year and get it started right off the bat this year instead of, okay, last couple months of the year, they're still winning, we might as well support them? How do we capture that right off the bat and sell this team to the average fan?
Yeah, good question. And, I guess we'll see tonight, and we'll see in these first few games if we have any carryover from last season. But hopefully those fans that did show up, regardless of why they showed up, some of them, probably knew nothing about soccer, and they probably were confused watching and everything like that. But hopefully the excitement of the game drew them in, and hopefully, left them, wanting to see more. And so we'll see tonight if we're able to capture some of those fans that came out last year. But, we're expecting a good crowd. Unfortunately, school is not in session. And I thought we had an awesome student crowd last year. A lot of the fraternities were coming out and supporting us, and, different athletes on campus, and, different student groups on campus were coming out and supporting us last year. And that was great. But, unfortunately, school's a week away from starting, so I don't think we'll get quite that same student crowd. But hopefully just the community in general that came out last year and that we're excited to be part of it, hopefully they come out tonight. And if they do, I think they're going to see that we've got another quality team. We lost some very good players. 4 of our players from last year's team are now playing professionally in the NWSL. And so, I know Bama football is used to that. They lose 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 pros every year, and then they just kind of backfill it with 10 more. And, we're going to have a challenging time, replacing them, at least, right away. But we've got good players coming in and filling those holes and those voids. And I think we're going to have another exciting team. And so, I think it's going to be great starting with DePaul tonight. It's a team that, we want to get after from the opening whistle. And, we're going to, be the same team that, I just described. We're going to be in their face, and we're going to be pressing them and hunting and scoring goals. And so, hopefully that we'll play some good soccer tonight, exciting soccer, and we'll be able to retain these fans.
Absolutely. Gianna Paul, worth the price of admission. Oh, it's free. So everybody needs to get out there right now. But she's absolutely, if you're charging tickets, worth that price. The last question, Coach, and really thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to get out there tonight. And thank you really, really appreciate it. It's been awesome for me. When you first were hired, and now you've got after last season, you signed a contract extension to 2027. But when you were first hired, I looked up some articles, and you called it, leaving from Florida State to Alabama, this is a dream job. Do you still feel that way as you're entering in year 9?
Yeah, no question. And the reason why I kind of felt it was a dream job is obviously you're coming into a conference that cares about sports, right? The SEC, that's they've got the resources, because of football. I knew we had the resources, and what I liked most about Alabama was just so much untapped potential. The ceiling at the time, actually, I guess the standard maybe at the time, as you alluded to in your first, kind of your opening statement, was, it was an underachieving program from a sense that, in 20 plus years, I think we'd been to 2 NCAA tournaments. We'd never won an SEC title. We'd never won an NCAA tournament game. And so there was just so much that hadn't been done yet at Alabama. For me, I thought, man, what better way to start out, go somewhere where, you're gonna have support, you're gonna have the resources you need, and it's a place that just hasn't realized its potential yet. And so that's what was exciting to me, and that's what I was able to sell some of our recruits on over the years. You take Raina Reyes or Felicia Knox or Riley Parker. I used to, my recruiting spiel to them was like, hey, come help Alabama be the first team to win an come help this Alabama team be the first to ever win an SEC title. Come be the first All-American in Alabama. And, now we've done that, right? We've got 3 All-Americans now, and now we've won the SEC, and now we've gone to a Final Four. So, now we're gonna have to come up with some new recruiting material. But no, it's exciting. It's a great place to be. A question you get as a college coach recruiting is, are you going to be here by the time I get here? Are you going to be here by the time I graduate in 5 years? And so, the answer, at least today, is yes. I don't plan on going anywhere. I'm happy here. My wife is a successful real estate agent here. My son and daughter are in high school here. We've kind of, planted roots here in Alabama, and this is home, and this is where we want to be.
Coach, what a pleasure for me. I really, really appreciate your time. I can't wait to get out to Alabama Soccer Complex tonight to watch you ladies take on DePaul. There are 3 opportunities in the month of August to get out there. Tonight, the 31st, and then next Thursday, I believe, as well. So everybody, 7 p.m., free event. Like, what more could you ask for? Family friendly. You're going to have a food truck. You're going to be able to meet the Alabama volleyball team beforehand. Coach, thank you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, absolutely, Joe. I appreciate you, man, and you have a great day, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Coach. That was awesome. Thank you, Coach. That's Coach Wes Hart, and wow, I am very, very blessed to spend right at 55 minutes with Coach Hart on a game day. On a game day, like, you guys don't understand. That is, Coach Saban, Coach Oates, and I love them. I definitely love them too. On game day, they're locked in and they're locked down, and I think Coach Hart is absolutely fired up for tonight's matchup against DePaul. Please, I encourage you all to get out to Alabama Soccer Complex tonight. It's free. You can park right next to the stadium. You'll be able to have good food from World of Beers food truck. The Alabama volleyball team will be signing autographs for anybody who wants to meet the volleyball team. And Coach is exactly right. I saw lots of football players at soccer games last year. You're probably not going to see them today because of fall camp, obviously, but it's just going to be a great atmosphere. You get the drum out there. You get some students out there. Look, last Tuesday, there was no students in town. There were no students in school. He mentioned that, but it was still a pretty nice crowd and a nice atmosphere. The ladies drew 2-2 against Tennessee. I'm expecting them to wax DePaul tonight. I didn't want to put that expectation out there with Coach Hart, because obviously they still have to go play the game and treat it very, very seriously. But I'm expecting them to wax DePaul tonight and put on a very entertaining product. You just heard him say we scored the most goals in college soccer last year. So what more could you want? A pressing style, gets up in the face of the opponent, turns the ball over, and goes and scores. What more could you want? Isn't that what you want for any sport? That's what you want for basketball. That's what you want in football. That's what you want in every sport. Get up in the face of the opponent, be aggressive, play Alabama style, wear the A across the chest very, very proudly. You're going to see Macy Clem. You're going to see Gianna Paul. You're going to see a great team tonight. Felicia Knox as well. Please get out there and support the Alabama soccer team all year long as we get rolling tonight. Very, very thankful to have Coach Hart. Please follow him on the Twitter machine at UA Coach Hart, and follow him on Instagram, iHeartBama. You can go tell him that we appreciate his time. You can follow the Alabama soccer team at Alabama Soccer. We love them, and we're going to be out there tonight. All you got to do is follow my man, Will Miller, Real WB Miller. Follow Bama Central at Bama Central, and myself, Joe Gaither 6. We'll be out there tonight. Game starts at 7. Come shake my hand if you want to, or just cheer for the Alabama Crimson Tide like you should. We're going to get out of here for the day. What a pleasure. Oh, what a pleasure. I am like on cloud 9. So I really appreciate everybody following us on the Twitter machine, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, at Joe Gaither 6. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Thank you for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. Tell a friend about the program. Share the interview with anybody you want to hear about Alabama soccer. We're going to have a fun time tonight. At noon, we're going over to Alabama Nailstone Media Room. We're going to hear from James Burnip and from Will Reichert. We'll hear from them at noon. We'll have a little Hey Coach at 6:30. We'll have Alabama Soccer at 7. It's a packed day at Bama Central, so we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama